Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movies, TV and online content and help you answer the question, did you know that upset is a homonym? I'm your host Ashley Hobley. Joining me this episode, Dylan Blight.
Yes, I was aware.
Also joining us, Kieran Marchant.
Guys, I know it's a bit late, but I've got my Emmy predictions ready, right? But when I sat down and did them, for some reason, the writing on my PC just wouldn't work. So I did all the actors based off just their picture, and I was just writing down the names.
Yep. So who'd you have?
I had, that guy from Schitt's Creek, the guy that was in American Pie. That guy, Bruce Willis.
Yep.
We've got the other person, the lady that's across from Jennifer Garner.
Okay.
We just got a whole range. Like, it's fine. Like,
It's okay.
But I get the feeling
unfortunately
I'm a bit late.
you're a week late.
Fuck.
Unfortunate because I really would have liked to have beaten you two, but we'll get to that a bit later.
Ashley did well. Oh, that's
yes.
disappointing.
We got a big episode this week. We'll be talking about everything that's our watch history. We'll be covering the 72nd Primetime Emmy Awards. We'll be talking about some more news, and we'll be talking about the show that we'll be talking about the movie that we ended up watching, Best in Show. So kick things off, I went to a special screening of The Broken Hearts Gallery, the new film from director Natalie Krinsky, starring Geraldine Viswanathan, Darcy Montgomery, Utkarsh Ambudkar, Molly Gordon, Philippa Sue, Bernadette Peters, and unfortunately, on this list should also be Arturo Castro, who I will say stole the show, kind of is in the scene-stealing role in this film. Pretty much the film is about Geraldine Viswanathan's character gets dumped by a boyfriend, and then ends up meeting this guy played by Darcy Montgomery, who's building like his own hotel, like small hotel in New York City, and she forces him kind of to let her make this pop-up gallery inside his hotel, dedicated to items she's collected from her past relationships. That's why it's called the Broken Hearts Gallery. The film never really explains why people would want to go look at this stuff, or it is more from the other side where people are donating stuff to be in the gallery, is the thing. But it's pretty much just a romantic comedy. If you probably recognize Geraldine Viswanathan from Blockers. She was one of the breakout stars of that one movie. She was also in, what was the name of the TV show?
She was also in
the
musical. I think you'll find.
She was also in Emmy musical. We don't talk about that, but she's also one of the main stars of Miracle Workers. This is probably her best work to date. This is obviously her first leading role, and she is amazing in this. She's so likable to watch. You just love her from the start. I think obviously she's Australian, so we all hope for big things for her, but I think definitely will be on the back of this movie. A lot of the other cast really good. She's got an odd group of friends. Philippa Sue plays pretty much a lesbian version of the chauvinistic man who like has a bunch of one-night stands and like does the cheesy break-off and that kind of thing. So that's a bit of a different twist. And then Molly Gordon is her other friend who's in a long-term relationship with this what's his name? Jeff. That's it. Jeff, played by Nathan Dales from I can't remember the name of the show. I'm doing a full-on Kieran here, but that's not true. I'd have to come up with an actual name.
It's
I'd have to come up with a name for something. But he plays pretty much like a mute boyfriend through the entire movie. So then it's all setting up to the one time he actually talks. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Spoilers.
A lot of good jokes, but again, Arturo Castro, scene stealing, Geraldine Viswanathan set for big things. So really enjoyable. Worth checking out. I don't know if you need to rush out and see it in cinemas, but definitely check it out before the end of the year, I think. And then today I went out and checked American Pickle, the new Seth Rogen film, directed by Brandon Trost, which debuted on HBO Max in America, but has come out in theaters here. Seth Rogen plays a dual role in which he plays a 1920s Jewish immigrant who ends up preserved inside a vat of pickles, and then is preserved for 100 years, wakes up in 2020, and is connected with his only living relative, his great grandson, also played by Seth Rogen. This is a fine film. I mean, I think it would have worked better. Obviously, watching it on a streaming service. There's some solid laughs. Seth Rogen's very good. Obviously, whatever effects they've done to put them against each other at the same time are good. Obviously, it goes through a few of the low hanging fruit and that kind of thing. Obviously, he's a 1920s guy with 1920s views on different things. But yeah, it's very much a movie where, a guy from the past wakes up in the future, and that kind of stuff. So, a lot of seeing things we've seen before in those kind of films.
I never even heard of this. I've seen this. Now I'm looking at it and I'm like, this
really?
looks fucking weird. I never even heard this. No. Yeah, it sounds very weird.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to give away too much, but the thing is, they obviously start to get on each other's nerves. And they end up kind of becoming rivals through the film, which is quite amusing.
The description,
yes.
Not to say, I was like, I wonder if the description makes it sound less weird than the way you explained it. But IMDb, it is literally an immigrant worker at a pickle factory is accidentally preserved for 100 years and wakes up in modern day Brooklyn.
Yep. I nailed it.
They don't even beat around the bush with how fucking weird this is.
The sequence in which he gets preserved is quite amusing and quite unrealistic, but yes. Super amusing. Pretty amusing. A little bit heartfelt, but I'd probably wait for this coming out on streaming services. You probably need to rush to cinemas to see this one. Alright, Dylan, you've watched a bunch of different stuff. Why don't we talk about, kick things off with the new film coming to Shudder, Spiral.
Spiral is not the movie.
Not the Chris Rock film.
Not the Chris Rock Saw film, which I feel like everyone is obviously going to get very confused about. So, in case anyone was wondering, that movie is actually called Spiral from the Book of Saw, which is a ridiculous title, but nonetheless. So the Spiral movie we're talking about stars this gay couple. Malik and Aaron, and it's set during the 90s, which I feels like important to play into what happens, I guess, in the movie. But the movie starts with a flashback of Malik when he was younger, and he was in a car kissing his, I guess, boyfriend at the time, and then it's obviously implied that a bunch of people come and rip him out of the car and beat the crap out of his boyfriend, and it's this traumatizing thing. Anyway, then you fast forward time, and it's obviously 20 years later or something like that, and he's much older, and he's moving to this brand new town with his partner Aaron and his daughter Kayla. And when they get to town, it's everything's great here, and they're a very open gay couple. They don't. And he's a very outgoing guy, and he's out and proud in quotation marks, I guess, as was the saying back in the 90s, I guess. Until they're standing around at one night, and there's a creepy old dude just staring at them across the road, or there's some subtle racism happening when the neighbor knocks on the door and says hi to Aaron, but then goes, "Oh, I see your gardener's working outside," but it's Malik. But obviously there's some implied racism going on there, and other weird little things. And obviously I'm not going to spoil it, but the movie that most people, if they watch this, will compare this to is going to be Get Out, because it is a horror movie built entirely around the horror of it is actually real life shit. Like it's built on racism. That's a big part of history, particularly America's history, and that's what this movie focuses on. In a lot of ways, I actually say this movie's worse, and I don't mean like worse film, but like worse in depiction of the racism and homophobic stuff than Get Out is, because, not to spoil Get Out or this movie, but this movie doesn't have a particularly happy ending or even like a happy outlook on America as a whole. Like you can kind of look at the title, it's called Spiral, and the movie is just kind of about the ever continuing spiral of hate breeding, spitting stuff that is just breeding throughout America that continues to happen and continues to happen and continues. It's a spiral of never-ending affairs, and that's kind of what the movie's about. But yeah, I think it was pretty good. I gave it a 7. You can read the full review, explosionetwork.com, of course, and it's out on Shudder.
Shudder.
Okay. All right. Then you also checked out the movie The Vast of Night. What's that one?
I think this is good. So I can say right now, this is probably going to be in my top. When we get to the end of the year, this is already on my top 10 nominees, or when we do for movies. I fell in love with this movie pretty fast, and considering I chucked it on at a whim, I never watched a trailer for it. I was just flicking through random things. I saw it pop on, looking through Amazon. I saw it. I'm like, this looks interesting. Press play, and I just was like, wow, this is, where the fuck did this movie come from? But the movie is more or less an audio drama, but a movie, and I only say that because it is, when you boil down the movie, it's like 4 acts, and these acts have a lot of long takes, and the movie is just a lot of dialogue. It is a sci-fi movie, and the plot of them, it's like a throwback to old school alien invasion movies. So it's like set during the 50s, 60s, or whatever it is, that period. Throwback sci-fi movie where the local DJ and then the girl who works at the, I don't know what they're actually called back then, but the person who would like connect your call to places, like pull out the cord and like put them into like, hello, where may I redirect your call? And like should take them out, put whatever.
Switchboard operator.
Switchboard operator. That is actually, I think it, yeah. So she's a switchboard operator, and she's friends with the local radio DJ, and she intercepts this weird like sound, and then basically the movie plays out over one night as the two of them follow and investigate the source of this weird sound. It is a slow burn, and as I said, the movie is mostly dialogue, and I think it's actually done on purpose, because like it's both a throwback to like the Twilight Zone. Like the movie even starts with a fake title card, and I can't remember what it is. Like something presents this episode of something or other, like it's a Twilight Zone episode or something like that. And then the camera zooms in on this black and white TV, and it goes to this episode. But then also it feels like a throwback to obviously War of the Worlds, like the original audio radio play type stuff. And that's why this movie doesn't have, like, I don't think it's a big spoiler to say there's no big aliens in this. There's no Tom Cruise running away from alien ships shooting stuff or whatever. I thought the payoff was good by the time you get to the end of the movie. I liked the way it ended, and I appreciated it. But if someone else watched this and they told me they found it rather boring because it is just kind of like a lot of talking, but I'm a Kevin Smith fan, so obviously I like listening to people just talk for movies and not do much. So that's that. But no, I thought it was really good, and it probably helped that I went in blind too, because I was just sitting there like, oh, what's this? And the 2 stars are really attention grabbing, especially the guy whose name I can't remember, but the guy who plays the DJ, he just has such a presence on screen, and he's really nailed down that sort of. It's funny too, because he's like walking around through the basketball game at the start of the movie. Like they just do this really long take where the camera like follows him in, and he's talking to people, but like he's the local radio DJ dude, but he's also a nerd. And people are asking him about like how to fix recorders and this equipment they're setting up to do the commentary for the basketball game, and all the basketball people are friends of him and whatever else. And it just seems so weird to look at. Like he's the radio kid, but everyone's like, that's the cool guy. He's the cool radio guy, and he's like really hip and he's talking to everyone or whatever else. And and even that scene goes for like 10, 15 minutes, and it's just following him through this basketball court just as he's talking to people. And it's yeah. No, I think it's really, really good though.
Great. Then you also watched Get Duked, which is available on Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for this one a while back because I saw it when I heard that Run the Jewels was doing a music video with the director of this, and then they put out the music video a couple of weeks ago, and then I kept meaning to look up where I could watch the movie, and I didn't realize it was an Amazon Prime movie. And nonetheless, so this is a horror comedy in which 14 boys head out. Well, 3 of them did naughties at school that involved one of them attempting to light their fart on fire, which then blew up the entire toilet block at school. So now the 3 bad boys, including one of them who wants to be a DJ and calls himself DJ Beat Root, and then everyone throughout the whole film keeps trying to tell him that he should, like, named after the vegetable. He's like, no, it's beet root, but it's beetroot. Oh, don't you get it? Anyway, so they're the 3 bad boys, and then there's the 4th kid is the goody two-shoes from school who wanted an excuse to go do this trail, because their punishment is they've got to do this trail. Kieran probably knows it. It's an English movie, so he's probably walked it all back in the day, all the time, you know. Anyway, it's some trail where their punishment is they've got to do this. It's like an orienteering, several days. They'll have to like camp halfway, make it through these old places, whatever. And of course,
Oregon Trail.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's probably what it's called. That's probably the one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the Oregon Trail. Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, they get like a little bit into it, and there's suddenly someone trying to kill them who is like wearing a mask with a very thick British accent, like posh British accent, who's saying about having to cleanse the land from the naughty Ubes and all these sorts of things. And I mean, that's a setup for the movie. It's 4 dumb kids trying to outwit someone trying to kill them. It's okay. It overuses it thinks it's cooler than I think it thinks it is. Like there's several times in the movie, and you can tell the person directing it, who's, I don't have the director's name, but they're obviously a music video director, or probably spent a lot of time practicing shooting stuff, was a lot of music video type stuff, because there's several sequences of really cool editing to songs throughout the film, including the Run the Jewels song. And there's even like part where they get on drugs and all of a sudden their heads are constantly pulsating and like floating across the screen and all this other weird and stuff. But it just kind of happens too much, and I think it thinks it's funnier than what it is. But since it's on Amazon Prime, you don't have to pay for it. I think it's a solid 90 minutes. You know what you're in for. It's like it's a horror comedy. It's like, I feel like if you like them, you like them. There you go.
Cool. Then you also watch Ready or Not, which I think is also a horror comedy.
Yeah, so I watched this for something we'll talk about, I'm sure, in a little bit. So I watched another movie that's on Netflix that I really didn't like. And then afterwards, what the fuck is their name? I'm meant to blanking on it.
Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving. So I watched a movie we'll talk about with Samara Weaving in it soon. And then I was like, fuck. That's shit, because she was in the first one and that one was great. And then suddenly reminded me, I still haven't watched Ready or Not. And so then I went and rented that to make up for it. Ready or Not is a very good horror movie. That's very fun. It's not like a super serious horror movie. I think the trailer should sell you on it. It's not like a proper comedy, but it's light enough with its theme. Samara Weaving's character is marrying into this family, a really rich family, who apparently have this proud old tradition that whenever someone new comes into a family, after the wedding night, they sit down, you have to draw a random card out of a box, and then whatever card that you get, it'll say what game you're going to play. So it could literally be checkers, it could be like snakes and ladders or whatever, these sorts of things. However, as we discover early in the movie, there is one card that is for hide and seek. And hide and seek in this family's tradition means that the person who's just married into the family has to hide and survive until the morning, while all the other members of the family have to try and kill them. Which it sounds absolutely nuts, obviously, but that is the premise. But they don't take it. That's why I think it works, because they don't take it super serious. But it's like serious enough. Like they don't try and hide. They don't cut away from the family and just focus on Samara Weaving, like hiding for the whole movie and film it like it's a slasher. It's constantly cutting back to the family trying to hunt her, and the fact that a lot of them don't even know how to use guns. Like several members of the family, including the brother of the person she's marrying, is played by Brody, whatever his name is, from the OC.
Adrian Brody.
No,
Adam Brody.
No. Adam Brody. Yeah, Adam Brody. Like, he's in it, for example. And if you
get those names confused, guys, come on.
He's in it for that, and he's like one of the people. And they'll cut back to the family, and they'll be talking about how they don't know how to use these guns. There's this one fantastic sequence where all the family's in the kitchen, and they're complaining how they can't find Samara Weaving's character. And this one woman's like, "Oh my god, I can't!" And then this like random like kitchen help runs in or whatever, and then she accidentally shoots them in the face, and then someone else runs in to clean up the body, and then she accidentally shoots them as well, and then they're all yelling at her for fucking killing all the cleaners in the place. So it is fun, it's very enjoyable, and you obviously are rooting for Samara Weaving's character to outwit this super rich family that's following a utterly ridiculous thing. And the reason they're following it is because they believe that if they do not do whatever the deck says, that their family was cursed, 1,000 years ago, that if they don't do it, they will die if they don't kill her. That's the setup. But it's very good. Also, I really wanted to watch it after this past week, because it was in there. The two people who directed Ready or Not are the two people who are directing the upcoming Scream 5. So I definitely wanted to watch it, so I had a good taste of, because Scream is also, to a degree, a franchise that mixes, like, it's serious.
It's on that edge.
But
it
has funny parts. Like, it has funny characters, it has funny dialogue, it has witty characters, witty dialogue, and these sorts of things. Like, it's a serious horror movie where people actually do die and whatever, and they're serious. Like, you get scared, but it is also light in parts, especially when depending on which film and which characters, there's a lot of humor involved. So I think after watching this, they do a good job of mixing humor and like keeping you scared. So it was good.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't bring it up in the news. I didn't put it in the news this week, and I think the news came out right after we recorded the last episode. But obviously, they did a lot of casting news for Scream 5, including that Neve Campbell's coming back for the fifth one. Are you excited? What's your gauge for Scream 5? Yeah,
I'm very excited. I don't know. I feel like I should be totally against this movie, but I'm not, because obviously it's like it'll be the first one since Wes Craven's passed away that they're continuing the franchise. And in a lot of ways, I feel like most franchises, if they're continuing without the people, I'm always going to be a bit like, that was their thing. You could have just left that the last one. But I don't know, like the fact that there's only been 4, where so many horror franchises have had like 20 movies. You look at Halloween, Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, all these things. They have so many movies, and there's just still a lot of potential especially because Scream is built on both parodying the current trends in horror and also telling a scary movie at the same time. And because it's been, I think Scream 4 came out in like 2011 or something like that. I don't know. Like, I think it'll have been 10 years since the last one. And that's 10 years of horror trends and tropes and things that they can sort of play off and do interesting things with. My hot take is always that I actually think that Scream 4 is actually my favorite of the franchise, which is hot take to anyone who loves the franchise. And that's because I felt like that film did the best job at playing into and having like social commentary on current real world trends of horror and interweaving social media and YouTube and these sorts of things, and how it would play out with a serial killer and whatnot. And so it's been long enough that I think the fifth one's great. Obviously, getting Neve Campbell back is sort of a seal of approval in some ways, I guess. Like you get the star back. It's not going to be looked at as it wasn't good enough to get her. If it didn't have her, they needed her, kinda.
Yeah. On the other hand, how much bad stuff could happen to one person? You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, yeah. That's you have to
another
watch
thing.
all the
There's
movies.
no point.
That's.
Yeah. I mean, then you're breaking down almost every horror franchise. If you say
Yes. Yes.
yes. So, all right. And then you also watch the film Baghead.
Yeah, this is a fucking weird movie. So, this was on Shudder. I'd been wanting to watch this for a while, but had never seen it anywhere, and then it was on Shudder, so I was like, "Fuck yeah!" The reason I wanted to watch it is because it's directed by the Duplass. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. The Duplass brothers, like Jay Duplass and Mark Duplass, and it was written by them as well, because they do like Creep, which I really love, and Safety Not Guaranteed, and that Room 104 series, and a bunch of other things. Jay Duplass does Transparent and stuff. So and also they were like them, along with like Greta Gerwig, who's in this, and some other people are like the heads of the, what do they call it? Mumblecore film movement, or whatever the fuck it's called, which was like the early 2000s. And Baghead is considered is a spin-off of the Mumblecore film movement. They called it the Mumble horror film movement. Basically, it means movies where they've made for fuck all money. It revolves around just people talking for the most part, and they're just made very cheap without any music because they don't have the budget and whatever else. This movie is about 4 people, two dudes who think they're directors, want to be directors and actors, and then 2 girls who want to be actresses, one of which is a younger Greta Gerwig. And they head out to the woods with the concept of, we're going to go out there for 48 hours and we're going to come up with the best plot for a movie, and we're going to make it ourselves, and we're going to make ourselves movie stars. And they come up with the idea for this movie plot that involve a serial killer going after them, who wears a paper bag over their head. And then what happens, of course, is they start seeing someone out in the woods wearing a bag who starts haunting them and like sort of terrorizing them a bit. And to go any further than that is, of course, delving into spoilers, but it's a weird movie. It's sort of a I guess social commentary on Hollywood, especially for that time, I guess, and whatnot. But no, I enjoyed it for its like viewing it as a piece of history, but I wouldn't say I suggest that everyone goes out to. I could suggest more better horror movies that you can watch for this upcoming October for your frights.
Cool. So I checked out the new documentary series on Amazon Prime, All or Nothing Tottenham Hotspurs, which follows the Tottenham Hotspurs Premier League team during the 2019-2020 season. Notable that at the start of the season, they were set to follow the manager Mauricio Pochettino, but he was subsequently sacked very quick, I think like a quarter of the way through, and was replaced by Jose Mourinho, who's one of the most well-known managers in the entire world. Interesting. They got that from a. I guess it made sense from a PR sense, but they quickly went past the Pochettino era and got straight to Mourinho in like the first episode.
It was a weird situation, especially with his like departure anyway at the time.
Yes.
So I kind of understand why. It was very much one day he was gone and Mourinho was there, and let's get our heads down and let's start pushing back up the table. They had a very poor start to last year, and it's you look back at it and you think, well, if they didn't have that poor start, they probably would have finished a lot better and maybe would have been in more contention for a Champions League spot, or the second, like the 4th or 3rd place for the Premier League overall. So yeah, they cover a lot of the different things that happened throughout the season, including there's obviously Hurricanes injuries, Hong Kung Sun, his red card in which he like kicked out at somebody. And his reaction to that kind of thing. There was I can't remember his first name, but Dyer. His incident where he went up into the stands to confront like a member of the public. They never
like super go in deep on any of those things. It's like kind of surface level, kind of talking about different things. But you know, it was an interesting watch. And then, of course, I think the interesting part of the end of the season is the last 2 or 3 episodes covers like the coronavirus effect on the club and how sort of everyone reacted to the initial news, how they dealt with the shutdown. Well, they didn't really delve too much into the shutdown. They sort of hard cut to season starting back up. But yeah, interesting watch, I think. All right, so let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. I guess we'll kick things off with the show that the movie you were hinting at earlier, Dylan. Babysitter Killer Queen. So I guess you loved it, right?
Loved it. So I gave it a 3 out of something.
Probably 10.
It's not 2.
3 out of 3, right? 3 out of 3, right?
I was very let down by this movie, and my bar was not even very high. And so here's the thing. Let me clarify. I don't love the first one. I gave it like a 6 or something. But a 6 is still, I enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was okay. The best, there was parts of that movie that was quite enjoyable. I thought it was just dumb fun. And it knew it was dumb fun. And I kind of liked it for what it was. If you never watched the first Babysitter, it's literally just Samara Weaving's character and a bunch of other people. And it turns out they're all down for doing the devil's business. And then they terrorize this kid who she's supposed to be babysitting. Anyway, spoilers for the end of that movie. Everyone dies. Samara Weaving's character, the babysitter, dies. All 4 or 5 of the other people die. And then we've all watched this, right? We watched it. Didn't we watch it? We
watched it in Shepparton.
Yeah, we watched it in Shepparton. That's right. So they all die, and now they're like, "Yeah, we'll do a sequel." And what we'll do with the sequel is, it's several years later. The kid who got terrorized is now in high school. The girl who was in that movie, the young girl, they're all grown up now. Anyway, I was like, holy shit, everyone in this movie who was in the first one now looks so much older. Like, kids grow fast. I don't know. Time's getting old. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, and then spoilers. It's not really a spoiler. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing.
It's in the trailer.
It's in the trailer. Like, they come back. Like, all of a sudden, old mate who'd never had his shirt on in the first movie still doesn't have a shirt on. Whatever, Amel. Not Stephen.
Yeah,
not
one. Stephen Amel.
His brother Amel.
Robbie Amel.
Robbie Amel. Yeah, he's back. No top on. They're all back. Somehow they got brought back to life. Anyway, the whole movie revolves around them, and they're trying to kill the kid and sacrifice him to get everlasting life or some shit once again. And it just plays over the same jokes, does even worse ones. I feel like they were editing this right up until the moment it was posted because they somehow managed to fit in a fucking Tiger King joke somehow in this movie. And I'm like, that's pretty fucking relevant. Like, for something that may have been filmed like 12 years ago. Anyway, yeah, it's not good. Like, everything that worked about the first one, which is that it knew it was dumb and it kept it short. Like, the first one was like an hour 20 something for start, right? This movie was like an hour 45. I'm like, what are you doing? What are we doing? First one was snappy. You got in. It never went for too long to the point that you got sick of it. Like, it moved at a good pace, had some good kills, had this great... and I guess a big part of it is this film does not have Samara Weaving, apart from, I guess, somewhat spoilers. It does have like a flashback. She's in it for like 2 minutes. And she's gone. And she was a big part of what made the first one so good. She just has the charisma and the charm or whatever. But even the kills in this movie, just from like a horror point of view, just weren't even as inventive as the first film. And I'm like, okay, like, it's just, I don't know who this is for. I honestly don't. This was trash. There you go. There's the word trash. Get it out of here. Get the fuck. Put it in the bin.
All right. Moving from that one, let's move on to the new series that was released this week, Ratched. You watched the first couple of episodes of that, the prequel to One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, so it's if you ever watch One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest, this is nothing like that, but it does have it is the story of Nurse Ratched, the character from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's a story of her origin story, I guess. Now, I remember when this got announced, I was like, this is stupid. I don't know how they're making an origin story for a fucking nurse from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Wow.
That sounds silly.
No, nurses can't have origin stories?
No, get the hell out of here. And of course, I'm only 2 episodes in, so I can't say if I love it or hate it yet, but I'm definitely going to keep watching it. I'm sort of hooked. There is I don't know, I've never watched a trailer, so I never watched a trailer for this, so I don't know how much is even given away. Like, I never watched anything for it. I clicked play on the first episode, and I was like, oh, these people are in it. I didn't even know Finn Whitcock or whatever his name is. Whitcock or whatever. I didn't even know he was in it. I'm like, of course he is. It's fucking made by Ryan Murphy. He casts the same 20 people in everything he makes. Why am I surprised by this? Like, the amount of things Ryan Murphy's made and the amount that don't have Sarah Paulson in them, I count on my one hand.
Small.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a couple things. But I mean, no, it's in a lot of ways, I guess, this show's most like The Nick, I guess. That's more in like what this is more like, because she gets a job in the first episode at the hospital where One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is set, and the show is primarily so far over the first 2 episodes revolving around the head dude of the hospital. He's trying to bring in things like lobotomies and all that sort of stuff that we're not allowed to do, of course, because it's fucking not right. But he's pitching them as, you got to remember, this is set during the 40s. He's like, hey, you do a lobotomy, it'll help cure lesbianism. It'll help cure, like all these sorts of things which they did back then. And that's what it is. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of American Horror Season 2, which Ryan Murphy did it as well. Which was called Asylum and also starred Sarah Paulson, but that hit on similar sort of themes to this, given it was set in a asylum, hospital / mental facility, quote unquote, but not really the right terminology, but that's what they chuck them out as. But no, Sarah Paulson's very good. The whole cast is actually pretty good. What's his face is in this, which I didn't know. Well, I didn't know anyone was in this until I sat down to watch it. Hey, Vincent D'Onofrio's in this. So I was like, oh, what a surprise. Good to see you. Been a while. Shout outs. And I enjoy the cinematography so far. That's another thing that stands out. He's done a very purposeful. He literally at points will have characters very obviously who are good and bad, wearing like, oh, she's in red, she's bad. This person's in like white or blue or something. They're like sort of good. And then like at certain points throughout the episodes, the entire screen will kind of get draped in a color, like to represent the mood of Ratched at that point, or what her thinking is and what she's supposed to be doing, I guess. But yeah, I don't know if I can say what the main hook at the end of the first episode is, because I didn't watch the trailer, so I won't. But there's a hook at the end of the first episode to a mystery to keep as to why Ratched is trying to get this job so bad at the hospital in the first place. And I did not know it was coming, and it was enough to make me go, what? Okay, sure. And I'll keep watching. But yeah, I will say one last thing. You do not have to have watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest to enjoy this. Like, it's got nothing other than the fact that you know that she is playing the character who ends up looking after all the characters in that movie. Jack Nicholson's character primarily, of course, and their tumultuous relationship throughout that film. Other than that, this movie has nothing to do with it. Apparently, Ryan Murphy says he's got a 4-season plan where the 4th season would interwind into One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that's where apparently he wants to do. But so far, 2 episodes in, don't need to have one scene. And I love that movie. I think that's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's also one of my favorite books of all time. I've read the book a couple times, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So that's probably why I was so much against this at first, because I have I really do
attachment,
attachment to that. But I'm trying to treat it as its own thing, because that's kind of what it is. And yeah,
well, it sounds like we'll need to come back to you at the end when you finish watching, because I've seen a bit of a mixed reaction online. So
yeah.
Speaking of things with mixed reactions, the new film, The Devil All the Time. Dylan, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, not very good.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't even know how to pitch this movie. Like,
wait, funny anecdote. So one of my younger co-workers at work said she watched this film. She said, "Oh, Tom Holland's in it." Oh, it was very serious, wasn't it? I was expecting it to be a light-hearted comedy.
What? Why?
It was
Just 'cause
called
Tom
The Devil all
Holland-
the time.
Did you think
Yeah,
it was
but
just...
maybe it'd be a bit funny. There'd be some jokes. No.
See, this is
Bone
what
dry
happens to people. This is how people get typecast because their managers are like, everyone knows you as Spider-Man. You can only you can only do the happy movies. Yeah, I don't know how to explain this movie. So this movie is just depression for about 2 hours 15 minutes or something like that. It kind of spans a time period of many, many years. The first 15, 20 minutes don't even have Tom Holland in it because Tom Holland plays the son of I can't remember the actor's name. The guy who plays Pennywise in the new ones.
Alexander Skarsgård? No.
No, the one.
One of the
No, it's
Skarsgårds?
his brother.
Bill
It's his-
Skarsgård. That's who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Skarsgård's like the first 20 minutes of this movie. He's coming back from war and he sits up in this small town and blah, 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 blah. He has a kid. Skip ahead. Tom Holland's a kid. Intermingles with other characters. There's like people getting killed. There's a priest played by Robert Pattinson who may or may not be touching younger girls inappropriately, and he just basically does a Robert Pattinson where every scene he's in, he's almost pushing the line of being too over the top with his very southern drawl characteristic of like, there's one scene where he like dips his hand in like this food that they brought into church. He's like, I do say the Lord have it the bear. I'm like, you're pushing it to be comedic nearly. Like, you're fucking pushing it, Robert. Batman. Oh, here we go. It's just, it is, I don't understand the point of the movie, I guess. I don't know if it's supposed to be a bigger takeaway. Like, I reached the end of the movie and all I took from it was that life sucks and yeah, that's it. And then you die. Like that's the kind of takeaway. And that's the movie. And I think I would say one of the bigger problems is this movie has a massive fucking cast of stars, like huge, pretty big names in this. All of them are great. That's the thing. There's no one in this movie who's actually acting bad. Tom Holland probably gives one of his better performances because it's more of a subtle, quieter performance for the character. And of course, everyone's used to him playing Peter Parker. Not saying he's like loud as Peter Parker, but he's like happy and like, like, oh my God, guys, I can't believe it's Captain America. Whereas this, he's like quiet and he's like living in a shitty town and life sucks and all this sort of thing. But the script is just not up to par or interesting enough for everyone on scene. And to the point that you're watching people act and they're acting better than probably the script deserves to a point. So, I mean, I enjoyed it from watching people act and going, fuck, yous are good actors, aren't you? Yous do a good job at your acting thing, but from a movie standpoint, I can't say I would suggest it because it just made me feel like shit by the end of the night. And I was like, now I have to go to bed. Good job, baby. Life sucks and then you die. The devil all the time.
Kieran, you've been quiet for a long time, so let's talk about the thing you watched. The Great Pretender.
Oh, it's a little while ago now. I haven't been on the show for a couple of weeks. But
Yeah.
no, The Great Pretender on Netflix is currently a 13-episode anime series that details the escapades of a small con artist group through the eyes of a up-and-coming con artist who gets embroiled within them called Makoto. It's a really interesting watch. It's split up into 3 what they call cases, where it's a series of episodes that'll be all about the one kind of con that they're doing, and then they break them up, and there's a bit of gap between the cases, and different things happen. The first 13 episodes are really fantastic. I think the first episode's kind of weird to work out if you're wanting to watch this with the original Japanese or with the dubbed English, because there's a lot of accents in this anime. Like, it's supposed like one of the main characters, Laurent, is supposed to be French, and there's supposed to be Makoto, who's Japanese, and they do at times, the Japanese actors do speak common English, and it just doesn't come off great. But after that first episode where I was umming and ahhing about it, they switched over pretty quickly, and it went back to just normal being straight dubbing, straight subbing and just original Japanese. Worked really well. I think it's a beautifully animated series. It is really interesting. It's really fun to watch. Netflix has already greenlit the next part of this series, so I believe the next 9 episodes have already been worked on in Japan as we speak, so that should be coming sooner rather than later to Netflix once again. I think it's a fantastic anime series. It's short, it's sweet, and it really captures that Ocean's 11 kind of Italian Job kind of vibe where there's obviously the in progress part and then the big reveal in the last episodes of how they pulled it off or what really happened behind the scenes. But it's really well done and really enjoyable.
Cool. Now, Dylan, you watched one of the films that I watched last episode that you hadn't watched. I'm thinking of Ending Things, the new Charlie Kaufman film. I was very vague on my opinions. Do you want to give very vague opinions as well?
Netflix, throughout the month of September, has released several movies that just make you go, life sucks, and then you die. And this is, alongside The Devil All the Time, one of those movies. That's how I'd sum up this movie. Here again, I knew about this movie, right? Because I'm like, oh yeah, old mate's directing it. I'd never watched the trailer. When you started talking about it last week, I'm like, I still don't know what the fuck this movie is about. I don't even know who's in the movie. I'd been paying so little attention because I was like, I want to go in blind because I feel, I meant to blank on his name there. What's the director's
Charlie
name?
Kaufman.
Charlie Kaufman. I'm like, Charlie Kaufman movie, it's probably going to pay off for me to just not know anything unless I really have to, and I'll just go in. And, yeah, what the fuck did I watch? I thought that's I can't tell you if I hate it or love it. I don't know. It's a weird movie.
Did you understand it?
Yeah, I feel like I got the general concept. I feel like I figured out the quote unquote twist like halfway through the movie, because I actually don't think it's too.
No.
Like, I think it's pretty obvious, unless you're not, like, I don't know.
Unless
you said
you're not
you
paying attention like I was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think, you said you had to watch a video. Do you think, like, looking back, that's actually not as obvious as it is?
No, I think there were obviously a lot of context clues, and
Yes.
I just wasn't looking for them.
I would say I guessed it, like, well, not to give away everything that happens in the movie.
Around the
they're
dinner
still in the car.
Really?
Before they even get to the house. Yeah.
Okay.
So just
Right.
because of the way
I will say, when you're saying that car scene, that went for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's like 20
And
minutes.
it's riveting.
It is.
It's like, it's great to watch. Great conversation. But still, 20 minutes in a car.
But it's also just like in that 20 minutes in the car, it's just obviously a lot of character building and it's just a lot of conversation, but it's also just the way it's edited because, again, being very vague, it cuts away several times and it's when it cuts away and what dialogue's been said at the times and then what's happening when they cut away to a certain other point of view that I felt like made it pretty obvious to the point that I was kind of expecting something else by the end of the movie. I don't think that ruins the movie though. I think it actually probably helps to click on or actually even know going in because I feel like then it makes, if you don't know and you don't click on, I feel like, especially by the time you reach the end of the movie, I don't feel like the last 10 minutes has the emotional connection it's supposed to have to the audience unless they've figured it out by then.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a nothing scene. If you haven't figured it out by then, that scene's going to mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
I'm definitely going to have to rewatch it before the end of the year because I think it's probably going to be around that mark.
I think it's a controversial one because I feel like as much as it's a Charlie Kaufman movie, it is probably his most pretentious.
Really?
Like, yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways and I mean, I don't feel like it's a spoiler to say, but I really do feel like the movie is basically a life sucks, then you die. And there's even certain things throughout it where the character's talking about like wasting wasting your life watching movies, and like there's certain subtle things that I feel like are written like from him interjecting certain things into the film in a lot of ways. I don't know, because he's apparently this is his last film, so he says. So
he says.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And then I left the most controversial to last.
Oh fuck! I nearly forgot. Hey.
So you watched the much talked about film that's caused much problems here at the Exposure Network, Cuties. Is it as terrible as everybody's been making it out to be?
So I think I gave it a 7 on Trakt. So I think it's an okay movie, and I don't think it's as controversial as the internet's having you believe, but it's definitely not. It's also not as good as maybe you see some film critics are trying to protect it, and by saying, you know, it's a massive work of art and all these sorts of things. In case anyone doesn't know what this film is, like, we did talk about it briefly like weeks and weeks ago. But
yes,
the film follows. Fuck, I feel like I should have the thing open to even say the character name, but it follows a young girl and her family who move into this new, like, housing complex blocks or whatever, and she's from her family's very religious, like very strict. I don't know how much this spoils not, but her family's very religious, and basically what happens is she starts exploring a new neighborhood or whatever. She meets these other, I think it's 4 girls at her school who are obviously got a very loose string with their parents, because they're dressing in whatever they want. They're going to these dance competitions. They're hanging out in places out of school. They're getting into fights at school with other girls. Like, they're the badasses. And our main character, I think her name's Amy.
It is Amy.
There you go. She gets into the group, and basically the way it's shot and portrayed is, to me, the movie is less about her wanting to do the dancing and more that she wants an escape from her ultra religious family. Like, that's what the movie's about. And well, that's what I took it. Like, the movie is actually, I think the movie does try to say some things about, obviously, women's portrayal in music videos and how younger people could view that and get influenced
of that kind
by
of
those sorts of things, like rap music videos and so on. It has a little bit of that, but to me, the key focus of the movie is actually on, like, her super religious family and upbringing, and her trying to find any way to escape from that, because she knows they're the bad kids, but that's what attracts her. You know, it's she wants in on their kind of freedom and their whatever they're doing. Like, she doesn't even know how to dance. She learns how to dance just to get in with them, and that's what the movie focuses on. Is they're trying to they're like 11, I think, and that's where, of course, the criticism everyone's bringing for the movie is that this movie, for starters, I've seen a lot of things on Twitter that are straight up not true. There's no, you never see any of these young girls like nude or anything ridiculous in the movie. The parts that are uncomfortable to watch, that I think are purposely uncomfortable to watch, are when they're doing the music, when they're doing the dances or they're practicing for the dance. And especially the one scene that went around from Twitter a lot, that was from near the end of the movie. Not the actual end of the movie, I'll clarify. Near the end of the movie. The ending of the movie is actually a lot more emotional and interesting than the dance scene. But whenever they do the dance scenes, they're shot like the music videos that they're trying to do, which means there's, like, close-ups of their asses. They're, like, attempting to... what the fuck is it called? The Miley Cyrus thing?
Twerk.
Twerk, thank you. Yeah, they like the temperature, and obviously that's uncomfortable to watch. I feel like it's supposed to be, though, because everyone's like talking about how they're sexualizing them, and I'd say, like, again, said this off air, like, if it's sexualized, that's you sexualizing it, when I don't think it's actually supposed to be sexualized at all. So that's the thing. In a lot of ways, the most interesting thing about this movie's heat it's copped from so many right-wing conservatives is that this movie's point of view about how these rap music videos and girls could corrupt young girls' minds is a very conservative point of view. But it's it's those same people that would usually be aboard those talking points who are now saying that this movie should be banned from Netflix, and people are signing several 100,000 change.orgs to get the movie banned and so on and so forth. I would say in comparison, I remember watching 13 when I was in high school and finding that uncomfortable to watch, although I think they were like 16 when they filmed that. They're like 16-year-old girls pretending to be 13 in that movie. But even again, that movie was uncomfortable to watch for similar sorts of reasons. No, I mean, it's an okay movie that's got way more drama than it ever would, you know? Like, most people would never watch this movie or care to watch this movie. All the people on Twitter that are complaining about it would never have cared about it until there was all this thing. And then I see lots of people, of course, people are being like, well, they can't, she shouldn't have had to sexualize them to make a movie about not sexualizing girls. And again, I would say that although that is part of the movie, the movie to me was actually more about a point of view that you just don't see represented in a lot of films, which is these young girl growing up, ultra religious family. I know there's lots to do with her mother and like what she sees her mother do, and so on and so forth. And I guess she never wants to grow up to be her mother, so that's why she looks for an outlet to kind of escape. I don't know. You can pull apart the movie a lot more interesting if you were to do spoilers, but no, I don't think. And everyone's kind of over it now. Like Twitter's died down for what I've seen. It was just like that 48 hours or whatever it was of everyone.
No, I see the occasional person mentioning it, particularly when we bring up another story we'll be talking about later. But yeah, it's good to know it's not as bad as everybody thought.
Well, I mean, if you look on user reviews for IMDb, they have stuff like Magic Might for pedos. What? They're strippers. Like, Magic Mike's about strippers.
All right, that's everything that we've been watching this week. Let's move into. Let's talk about the Emmy Awards. Obviously, first Emmys ever to be held virtually. Did either of you actually watch the ceremony?
No, not at
I was
all.
like, why is this a question? Of course I actually didn't, did you?
Yeah, I did.
I only watched the highlights because I had to go out somewhere and I missed it, and then I saw results on Twitter, so I skimmed it. I fast forwarded some parts. I watched the important bits, but no, I didn't. This is the first year I didn't get time. Yeah, it's fun.
So I watched the entire the 3-hour show. It was pretty solid for what it was, considering the limitations they had. Obviously, they played into it with the opening monologue. Interesting to see on Twitter how many people thought it was real instead of stock footage of previous Emmy Awards that it was cutting to.
I would say that joke went on way too long, in my opinion. Like
it did go on a bit long. I did enjoy the Jason Bateman cardboard cutout bit. Because damn, he was a good cardboard cutout that first pass, that first dolly across. He looked like he really was. And then obviously they went into the wall of screens, the room of screens even.
Shout out to WWE.
Shout out to the Thunderdome. The Thunderdome. Yeah, I think they probably did the best they possibly could. Obviously there were a few technical issues. Like audio cutting out at certain points, particularly for the in memoriam. Whatever Jimmy Kimmel was introducing, I think Her was the performer who did the in memorial segment. Didn't get her introduction. Thankfully, her end was all fine. And then the audio also cut out when they were announcing the best drama series at the end of the show. So you didn't know until somebody one of the teams reacted. But yeah, overall good show. Obviously, some interesting bits. Obviously, the Jennifer Aniston, Jimmy Kimmel setting a envelope on fire bit took a turn when the fire didn't go out when they used the fire extinguisher.
It's a great meme now, though.
It is.
To represent 2020
much,
in
yes.
general. Just
Pretty much. Yeah, and I think that obviously they highlighted a lot of people who are doing it tough in the pandemic, allowing them to actually present the awards, like different like nurses and truckers and survivors of coronavirus and that kind of thing. So I thought that was a nice touch. And yeah, I thought they did a pretty solid job given the circumstances. It was a bit cringy at certain points, or cheesy. And they went. I think they paced it not very well. Obviously, what they did for this one is they grouped the categories. So all the comedies are at the start, then all the limited series, and all the drama categories. They did them in weird orders as well. It seemed like they did all the leads at the start and then the supporting actors later on. Maybe it's because then the lead actors could leave the Zoom call as soon as they lost or won. So they only had to be in there for the hour, you know?
Those Zoom calls have a time limit, you know.
Yeah. Do they? That's interesting.
They do.
They do?
Yeah.
But also you could see the timing, like, as the show went on, as with most shows. At the start of the evening, they have these really fancy opening things for the nominations where they show clips and different things. And by the end, they were just zooming through those as quick as possible. Which was disappointing because for the best comedy nominations, they had like celebrities give their thoughts on each of the shows. Like they had Elton John talking about Schitt's Creek, and they had some other people talking about
Elton John was the one.
Which one?
Elton John was the only one worth remembering. Big Schitt's Creek fan.
Oh no, yeah, the Broad City Girls were talking about The Good Place. That was good as well. But yeah, I would have maybe they did that for the limited series and the drama as well. But I'd like them to put that out. That'd be cool to look at. But I don't. Probably not. And yeah, I thought everyone gave good speeches and that kind of thing. So before we get into who the winners in that, Kieran, have you seen the actual results?
I have indeed. It's I guess it was really surprising just how many sweeps there were and how dominating the individual shows were, especially Schitt's Creek being such a kind of powerhouse in this year's Emmys. I guess it's always, I don't know, at the same time, you're like, okay, was the show that amazing to kind of take all those awards of everything else around it? Or was there starting to become maybe some kind of favoritism in the judging panels where they were just a bit more leaning towards Schitt's Creek because they'd already voted for it so many times previously? It just seems like, even though it's great that one show does so well, at the same time, a bit of diversity in these kind of trophies and these kind of awards can really highlight how great the industry as a whole rather than just one show.
So obviously Schitt's Creek swept for the first time in history all 7 comedy awards on the night. The first time any show's taken out all 4 acting awards for a comedy. I'm not sure about drama, but no, I think it is might just be for a comedy.
I think it's just for comedy.
Just for comedy. And broke the record for most Emmy wins for a comedy, including the 2 Creative Emmy Awards they won the previous night. So after we watched Schitt's Creek for the last episode, and I got like a season and a half in, I proceeded to watch the entire thing. And they deserve all the awards that they got, in my opinion. That last season is pretty great. I think out of the 4 actors, I think the Annie Murphy win for Best Supporting Actress was the most surprising. But then you see the episode she was nominated for, and it's not surprising because it's the best work she's done. A pretty outstanding. She's got a great scene in that that probably got her over the line over some of the strong competition. So yeah, big night for the 3. I think we weren't expecting Schitt's Creek to do so well, but the other 2 shows we were expecting to do very well, Watchmen and Succession, did. very well, picking up, I think, 4 awards each. Tim, what are your thoughts on the results?
Well, other than Schitt's Creek stuff, I felt like the rest was pretty good. I mean, not to say that.
What, you're anti-Schitt's Creek?
No, not saying I'm anti-Schitt's Creek, but obviously the thing is every year when we do these Emmy things, we watch, if it's a show that we've never seen before, we watch like the first couple episodes. You usually watch all 6 seasons, but I only watch like the first couple episodes, but it's always hard because, of course, the Emmys for the latest season, so they're like, oh, for this, and it's hard for me to look as someone who's only watched the first season and go, oh, they deserve that.
Yeah.
But I'm basing it solely on, of course, only having watched the first season, so it's a bit,
and it's one of those shows that actually gets better as it goes along. Like, especially when it's a 6-season show, a lot of comedies like kind of lose
what makes them work,
lose steam. Yeah. Whereas this one continues to get better. But yes.
Yeah. But other than that, loved all the Watchmen wins. The couple of random ones that other things like, of course, Zendaya. I was very happy not only because I got the prediction, but also obviously because I felt like she deserved that, and that was actually funny because I think
did a lot of the internet.
Yeah, it was. It was so funny because obviously my joke was Rhea Seehorn, and then I kind of picked Zendaya because I was like, well, if I can't pick Rhea Seehorn, who I think deserves this, then I'm going to pick Zendaya because I think she's the one that deserves it the most. And I actually, if you'd put me on a lie detector, I probably wouldn't have passed saying that I actually think she's going to win it because I didn't. I was picking that as a personal pick, so that's quite funny. But I'm very happy because that show's very good. She's amazing. That's the best thing she's in. That's the best thing Zendaya's ever done. And also that's probably the biggest award I think of the night, other than the Schitt's Creek stuff, because obviously that was a record breaking thing. But Zendaya was the second black woman to ever win that award, and now she's also the youngest woman to ever win that award. So that's pretty massive. Like 24 years old to win that, I think is
bonkers. Big. I think obviously I think the shows that we expected to won big. There obviously were a fair number of surprises to us anyway, and to me particularly with Zendaya picking up that award. I'll point out the other couple of surprises I would have thought. Azu Abduba winning for Mrs. America over Jean Smart from Watchmen. I think that was a pretty shocking, considering, of course, with the caveat that neither of us have watched Mrs. America, but Jean Smart was a massive part of why Watchmen was as good as it was.
Mm-hmm.
Then Billy Crudup picking up Best Supporting Actor for a Drama Series for The Morning Show.
Shout out to Apple TV. Fucking
first Emmy for Apple TV. I feel like that was a case of, and there was probably a few of these, a case of votes being split because of multiple actors from the same show being in this. Of course, there were 3 people from the Succession cast. Any one of them would have been a worthy winner, but I guess... Yeah, you've watched some of the morning show. Would you have picked Billy Crudup to win?
I only watched the first episode. Yeah, so no, okay. I can't say. Although,
yeah,
I did always want to go back to that show. I've just never had time. That was one of the ones I actually liked. Him winning award, I guess, helps push it forward. I should go back. I would love to catch up on a lot of Apple TV shows and then come back here and do it.
Maybe we'll have something in the works. I think Julia Garner picking up her second award in Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series for Ozark. Again, we haven't watched Ozark, but she had some very stiff competition this year. I'm sure Simon Blackburn from Take My Tone is very happy, or was very happy, unlike our own Nicholas Pryor.
Overrated, he said.
Overrated.
I'll
tell you what, fairly good chance Ozark's going to be talked about next year on our Emmy special. I already kind of circled it. Yeah. Unless some other big drama comes out.
I added it to my list, and also I made a mental note as I'm like, I need to somehow get better at watching the things that are probably going to get nominated prior to them being nominated. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
yeah,
prior to them being nominated. So to watch all the big stuff, and then I think Unorthodox picking up Best Directing was surprising. result.
I finished that.
You actually finished Unorthodox after we did the last episode.
Yeah, here's my
worthy
update
winner?
on that. No, I don't rate that at all. I think I gave. I honestly, I would only give it like a 6. That whole show. I ended up not liking it very much. I quite enjoyed that first episode. I think I talked about it here, so I enjoyed it. But
Yep.
I just like it's too. I don't know. Like I feel like it just felt like a lot of it felt forced and kind of silly. And then when I finished watching it and I look up the true story that's based or inspired by and like major differences, and a lot of it is just like, for a start, the story that's based on, she never went to Germany. Like a big part of it is just complete baloney. And just what ends up happening, it just felt a little too forced on trying to rush to its ending, which is, I mean, spoiler, she escapes her family, of course. Yeah. But the thing, look, is one, you know what the funny thing about that show is that I finished watching a final episode, remember sitting there staring at my TV going, well, that's fucking disappointing. But then I was so interested after that first episode. Like I enjoyed that first episode and the premise. And I remember we're talking about it on here and saying this world just seems like so alien to me. I kind of want to know more about this. What they call ultra orthodox, like
Orthodox
Jewish. Yeah, I don't know probably. All of that's alien to me, and I just found it so interesting. So, and I didn't like the last episode so much that I went and brought the audiobook. So I'm like halfway through the audiobook of the actual book now, and that's really good. So that's my what do you want to listen? My what do you want to listen to update, or what do you want to read update is don't watch Unorthodox. If you like the way it sounds, go read the book. It's way more interesting.
Or like just play the like the episodes of it, but just mute it and play the audiobook over the top.
Fuck you, Emmys. Right. Fuck the Emmys.
Dylan disagrees.
Yep. Were there any other highlights for you?
Niles and Daya winning.
Did you jump out of your seat when she won? Did you?
No, because I already saw it on Twitter, so I went
joy.
and found it, watched it. But she had a very, it's just, you know, she had a good race. She's sitting there, you can tell she's happy. You know, appreciate. Shout outs, appreciate. Also, any of the Schitt's Creek stuff's great. That's just wholesome. Them up there, the family affair. I think that was always good.
It helped that obviously they're all in Canada, which has slightly leaner restrictions or is less dangerous than America.
Or they've been better at putting restrictions on.
They've been better at putting restrictions, and everybody in that room was wearing face masks, and that kind of thing. And seeing them constantly winning was very enjoyable to watch.
Also,
I think
if we got to pick a best moment, it has to be shout outs to all the hazmat dudes outside the houses, just holding the awards, and then
the video that Rami Youssef put up.
Yeah.
of the guy in the hazmat suit waving through the window and then walking away.
The funniest thing is, it sounds like a South Park episode because I remember thinking, what are they going to do? It sounded like I said it as a joke. What are they going to do for the Emmys this year? Like, have people outside the houses holding the awards? And then that's what they did. That's what they actually did. It sounds like a fucking South Park episode. That's what happened.
Tuxedo hazmat suits.
They were literally proper hazmat suits.
Who put that on your 2020 bingo card?
They were like they look like the hazmat wearing dudes that are like Monsters Inc., but they were tuxedos.
Yeah, but in tuxedos.
Yeah.
So when those people have their own awards night, that's what they wear.
Yeah.
Great. So let's get to the most important fact. Emmy predictions. Final results come in. Dylan, you ended up with a respectable 11 out of 27. But it wasn't enough to overcome my 13 out of 27.
Go, let's go, Ashley Hobley! Woo!
Undefeated in What Do You Want to Watch predictions.
What a machine. You know, we need to get Buddy Watson on here properly.
Well, he'll be back for the Oscars next year, probably. So look forward to that. As we said, as the new tradition is, you need to watch something that I pick. And I will say, I know I've been pushing the first 2 episodes of the Limitless TV show.
I was hoping this would be the
Unfortunately, it's been pulled from Netflix.
Ooh!
So, which devastating, in my opinion.
That's
That is heartbreaking.
That is. I feel that I will. You know what? If I need to, I'll pay for him on the YouTube account.
on the Apple.
Like,
apparently, it's only on Apple TV.
Okay,
you're going to hook him up? Yeah.
We'll just
all right, there we go.
We'll do what has to be done. We'll do what has to be done to.
I did have a solid alternative, but I'll save that for next time then. So next episode, Dylan will be talking about the first 2 episodes of the Limitless TV show.
Why you with me on this is beyond me.
My favourite part is he had the hope then that it had been removed from Netflix and he was going to have to sit through something else, but nah, just I got this.
The thing is, you're going to love it and you're going to want to watch the rest of it.
Again.
And you won't be able to.
You're going to be so excited.
Again.
You're going to be...
Why you fuck me on this is beyond me.
It's okay. As the intermediary of this podcast currently, with you two going head to head, I am clearly the umpire and referee.
Fuck.
I'll
All right. Before we completely move on, I will make note of some notable creative Emmy wins. The Apollo won Best Outstanding Documentary Special, overcoming documentary specials like Beastie Boys Story, Becoming, and The Great Hack. Rick and Morty won Most Outstanding Animated Program. Forky asks a question, What is Love? Won for Most Outstanding Short Form Animated Program.
Fuck yeah.
Eddie Murphy won his first ever Emmy Award for his appearance on Saturday Night Live. As well as Maya Rudolph picking up her first Emmy for Most Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series, and subsequently winning her second Emmy for Most Outstanding Character Voice Over Performance for Big Mouth, breaking the 4-year streak that Family Guy's had on that award. And then, most importantly, Best Documentary Series was won by The Last Dance, which is good, because if anybody had to beat The Last Dance, we all know what Michael Jordan would have done. He would come right at him next time. Doug scored like 40, 50 points on him.
I was going to say, dunked on these fools.
Yeah. So I guess we'll touch on one of the most outstanding children's program shows. Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, cancelled after 1 season. I think none of us watched it.
I wanted
but
to.
it has been caught. It's gotten a lot of traction on the internet. I think obviously the people who did watch it really liked it. How have you seen it go down? Because it seems like obviously there was a very small audience for this, and it looked like it was very expensive.
Yeah, so very expensive because it was a combination of classic Henson puppetry with new age special effects, obviously, to make the best of both worlds. And puppets are not as cheap as everyone would like to believe, and special effects certainly still aren't as cheap as everyone would like to believe. And also it had a massive voice cast. I wanted to watch it. I was excited for it. I never got around to it when it came out because it came out at a weird time. And I'm probably never going to watch it now because I don't feel like why...
Because apparently it ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, so...
Or it doesn't... It's not a nice tied in kind of thing. So
yeah. Well, you know what else I will say, though? Everyone on the internet that's complaining, I can guarantee, and because this happens every time a show's cancelled, I can guarantee that a majority of those people had never watched it. They were probably people who planned on watching it, like me, never got around to it, and they're complaining it got cancelled. I'm like, well, probably should have fucking watched it. You know what I mean? Anytime this happens to a show... Everyone complains. They come out of the woodwork. All of a sudden, there's millions of fans for something. Where the fuck were they? If there was a million people watching it, it would not have got cancelled.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
The problem that they're all watching it on the same account.
The reason Netflix doesn't... The reason Netflix is able to... Because I look, sometimes they cancel things I care about. Sometimes I don't, obviously. But the thing about Netflix is they're pretty fucking... They slice through shit like butter when they want to cancel shit, and they have to keep their module going. Like the reason they're able to constantly make new shows, make new movies, original content, buy stuff, blah 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 blah, is because they never hang on to something too long. And most of their shows only go for like 3 seasons. And then they kind of cancel them or whatever. They have a very kind of strict module for shit that isn't super, super popular. If you're a show that does really well, you'll get lots of seasons. If you're a show that isn't doing very well, we're not going to keep you around. You're not making us money. Fuck off. And I understand that from a business point, you know? But you can't really complain. Like, business is business to a degree, even if you do like it.
Yeah. Kieran, I don't think we've ever discussed it. How do you feel about Netflix cancelling of shows?
I think it's with all things, especially with Netflix inside of terms of a streaming service. I think Dark Crystal. I think they gave it like what was it? Is it 1 or 2
It's
seasons
1 season.
of it? Was it just 1? I feel like they gave it a full 100% go with putting the 1 season out. I think Dark Crystal is one of those ones that has a special, very specific, very kind of cult following in many ways, where you'll always find people that like Dark Crystal or will love the original Dark Crystal movies and will appreciate it. I don't think the people who love the movies all transferred into people that watch the series. But I think Netflix in general cancelling stuff, I think there's, for a company that puts so much stuff out that they kind of, I guess you would call it like a kind of a shotgun, like kind of style of doing it, where they just throw a whole heap of TV shows at the wall and see whatever sticks and push the stuff that sticks and then moves on from the stuff that doesn't stick so much. So I'm not overly surprised by them cancelling. I think, and when they do a show, it's not like they like half-ass the show. They go all in for that first season and then kind of get themselves a realistic view of viewership and then move on from there. I don't think, if people don't want their shows that they love to be cancelled, watch them. Watch them like almost religiously when they come out.
Yeah. This was, I think, a very hard sell. Obviously, pretty big name cast. Obviously, puppetry isn't cheap. And then on top of that, I think they've had a couple of shows cancelled because of coronavirus, of delays in production and it just being more financially viable to end productions rather than try and make them during Corona. I understand it's very disappointing, but from a financial sense, it makes, or from an outsider who doesn't have any attachment to it, it makes sense. Probably not great timing on the announcement. I think that's probably exacerbated it. They probably could have put something out either a couple of weeks ago or in a couple of weeks. Probably not the day after they win an Emmy Award. But, it's an unfortunate situation. So we got some more news about the Rogue One spin-off. Director Tony Gilroy will no longer be directing. Instead, he'll be replaced by Black Mirror and Doctor Who director Toby Haynes. So now we know that the show is actually going into production, which is a good sign. Toby Haynes will be directing the first 3 episodes, although Gilroy is very much involved. Of course, Toby Haynes directed USS Callister episode of Black Mirror. He directed the Brexit movie starring Benedict Cumberbatch. Directed a few episodes of Doctor Who and the upcoming Amazon remake of Utopia. And he also directed the season 2 episode of Sherlock, The Reichenball Fall. So a lot of good television there. Dylan, you're a big Star Wars fan. How are you excited for this? Whatever Diego Luna Star Wars show to be coming?
Cassian Andor series, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You just said it, and then you kind of lost
we-
what you was talking about, I think. I'm keen for this series. This is actually a Corona thing, which is,
Yeah, so he's dropping out because he's based in New York and shooting is taking place in the UK.
Yeah, and shooting is taking place in the UK, and apparently he could have chosen to leave if he wanted to, but for his own health and safety reasons, he chose to just stay in New York, and because of course they can still Zoom, Skype him or whatever, and he can
still produce.
He can still produce and kind of be in charge to a degree there, but not on set. You're probably not going to be able to do the directing duty, so had to pass it over. Toby Haynes, he directed a bunch of Doctor Who episodes I don't like, but also he directed Sherlock I like, and obviously Black Mirror I like, and all these sorts of things. So up and coming. It'll be interesting. I guess the USS Callister episode's kind of a starting point for him being able to shoot more high production thing, because that episode cost like $1 million or something ridiculous apparently. So well, other than that, a lot of stuff he's done has been cheaper. Also, shout outs to that Utopia thing. I absolutely hate the idea. I watched the trailer for that. I hate it. I've watched the original series. I really like the original series. And fuck that Amazon one. Just putting my thoughts out there right now. I'm not planning on watching that. It looks crap.
Look forward to talking about it next episode because it comes out
Absolute
day of release. So
shout outs to the original British series. You know where I keep my love. British people. That's right.
The whole thing that you just went through. Look, you know what, Dylan? Thank you. You stand, considering how you've consistently put me in all things English. I appreciate it. You know.
Star Wars.
okay, Star Wars. Kieran, are you looking forward to this?
I am. I think this is this kind of. I'm excited because I think this sets Star Wars in almost a darker tone a little bit. Not fully dark, but it's going to be going in a direction that we don't normally see for Star Wars. It's the same with why I was interested in The Mandalorian. I think with The Mandalorian being what it is, it kind of makes you more excited for this series and the direction this goes in. Especially, an in Star Wars universe wartime spy movie, or even like Cold War style spy movie. It's going to be a spy TV show is going to be really fun to watch. So, and I think I really like the character of Cassian, especially from the pre-Rogue One time. So I'm interested and excited to see more.
Cool. So we got an update on the Your Name American adaptation or live action adaptation. It's got a new director attached to the project. New director is Lee Isaac Chung, who directed the Sundance, well-received Sundance movie Minorai, which will be coming out sometime through A24. Won a bunch of awards.
I love it.
Good to hear. It won the US Grand Jury Prize and an Audience Award at Sundance. So he's of a Korean American descent, and he'll be both writing and doing his own draft of the film. Of course, let's see. Previously had drafts written by Eric Hessera, who was the Arrival screenwriter, and also Emily V. Gordon, who was a co-writer on The Big Sick. So this obviously being done by Bad Robot, with J.J. Abrams producing, as well as Genki Kawamura, who was the original producer on the original film. How do you feel about this latest developments? It seems like they're likely to move away from the Native American storyline that they were pitching.
Probably a good idea.
Thank God. I hated that. Go listen to whatever episode I complained about that for 5 minutes on.
I think it was 58.
It was...
Oh my God, your memory, Ash, is incredible.
No, I was looking at the list before, so... Of movies, so... Speechless, all of you?
Yes. I'm probably more into this than previous director Mark Webb or whatever. That's his name, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, obviously my biggest worry was the whitewashing originally, and then when they started going with the Native American storyline, I was still just like, I don't feel like that's probably a good idea because it's still just being directed by Mark Webb trying to do some tying it into a Native American story. I'm like, that probably wasn't going to go very well. Hopefully they can just make it, just set it in Japan still.
Do you think in a post-Parasite world they could just shoot it in Japan, Japanese actors in Japanese?
It won't be in Japanese. I feel like that's the one leeway I will let it have because obviously it is a big American production, Bad Robot and blah 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 blah. That's a one leeway I'll give them to try and get butts and seats for this, is at least set it in Japan, do everything like it is in the original movie, but I'll allow English as the spoken language because that does play into marketing towards the American audience, obviously.
Kieran?
Overall, I don't think I have that much to add to it. I fully agreed with Dylan's previous rants about the whitewashing and the Native American storyline. So it seems like there's somebody with some kind of freaking sense and listening. And maybe this is the positive side of listening to people's feedback online or listening to criticisms of announcements. But overall, I think it's just a wait and see for me, I guess.
Cool. All right. So all the time, there's a bunch of news about different new projects that are in the works, and new casting and new announcements. So we're going to talk about some of them in a segment I like to call "Would You Want to Invest?" So I'm going to give you some projects that are in the works, whether film or movies or TV, and you tell me if you would like to fully invest, partially invest, or not invest in these projects. Like whether you think they're going to be very successful financially or very successful critically, or not successful at all.
I don't think Kieran's played this game before.
No.
I'm not. This is my first time,
Yes.
so I'm interested.
So, HBO is developing a hip-hop vampire drama series called Thirst. From the former Empire writers, Leah Benavides Rodriguez and Carlito Rodriguez, comes this series that is set to follow a brilliant but cocky Atlanta rapper who thinks he's found his way to stardom when he links up with the hip-hop's hottest group, but has no idea that they're hiding a terrifying secret. There are family vampires with roots going back centuries. Blending a vibrant journey through the world of music with a sweeping new vampire mythology, the show explores the price of fame and legacy in America and asks the eternal question, who would you become if you could live forever? Guys, it's Atlanta, but with vampires.
No. Just pull the eject cord now. We're out of here. No investment. No deal, Mr. Chaser.
Dylan?
Partial invest. It sounds terrible, but I feel like
Oh my
people
God.
would watch it. So I'm going partial on that one. It's not for me, I don't think, but I do feel like
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they've taken
they've taken
It sounds
Atlanta
like an old
and crossed
school
it with
HBO
what do we
show.
want to what we do in the shadows, and then said kiss.
Well, it's even like they've taken like Twilight with the family that's lived and they look normal, blah, 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 and smashed together with what are those dancing movies
Step Up?
that were
Step
like
Up.
all the craze? Step Up, that's the one. It's like they've mashed the two together in some
Fucking
form.
love
And
Channing Tatum.
I'm not about that life.
All right. Taika Waititi is set to direct and executive produce a pirate series at HBO Max called Our Flag Means Death. Apparently, the show is going to be loosely based on the true adventures of Stede Bonnet, a pampered aristocrat who abandoned his life of privilege to become a pirate. So in this story, they give a little bit of a description of his life. So he was born in Barbados. He was an educated and wealthy landowner who abandoned his own children in order to become a pirate, and despite having no experience on the open seas. Instead of stealing or overthrowing a ship, as was the traditional manner though through which pirate captains gained their ships, used his wealth to build his own vessel, constructed to his own specifications, which he called the Revenge. At one point, he teamed up with Blackbeard, with the two raiding several ships in the Caribbean and off the east coast of the United States, but they ultimately had a falling out, leaving Bonnet chasing Blackbeard across the seas in an attempt to exact revenge. What do you think?
On his ship called
Yeah.
Revenge. Take my money. Give Taika Waititi, as he is in this current landscape of directing and film and TV shows.
The show is
Give him a
the show is created by David Jenkins, who previously did People of Earth. Just to be clear that it's not. Taika's just honest producer and will probably direct like the first episode.
That's fine. Even if he's directing a first episode, open just empty blank checkbook. There you go. Take it. Go.
Nah.
Also,
Nah,
I like
not
pirates.
investing. Don't think people are into
Wow.
pirates at the moment. I think they're out.
No, Dylan. Did you? I don't know if you've heard about this. Sorry for all non-gaming fans. There's this hit game coming out called Skull and Bones that people are highly anticipating and excited for. That's all
Yeah,
about.
but they're all
pirates
looking
at
forward to
sea,
the
so-
attached TV show being based on that video game series. So.
Yep. Correct.
No bueno.
I mean, yeah, okay. What else I got here? So coming to the newly rebranded Paramount Plus, So we never covered this. CBS All Access in America is being rebranded as Paramount Plus. So that's a thing. They are currently working on a series scripted drama called The Offer that is about the making of The Godfather from the perspective of film producer Al Ruddy, who will serve as an executive producer, with the series written by Michael Tolkien, who did Escape from Dannemora. Let's see. It will be a 10-episode limited series that would likely cover how Ruddy convinced Marlon Brando to take on what would become a career-defining role, Hollywood's skepticism at making a gangster movie into a big success, and the film's production clashes with the Italian-American community, which was against the story's violent depiction of Italian-Americans.
Invest.
Kieran?
I'll go with a partial invest.
That sounds like money. Also, that what was it? Escape from whatever. That was award winning or nominated or whatever.
Tarkov.
Yeah, for Patricia Arquette.
Yeah.
From memory.
Yeah. Still, just saying. Like,
Okay.
seeing stars.
All right. So coming to Netflix is a new film called The Harder They Fall, which is about to start filming, starring Idris Elba, Jonathan Majors, Regina King, Lakeith Stanfield, Delroy Lindo, Lazzie Beats, Danielle Deadwyler, Edie Gathke, and RJ Seiler. It follows the story of outlaw Nate Love, who discovers that the man who killed his parents 20 years before is being released from prison. To retaliate, he rounds up his old gang to track him down and take his revenge. Should have mentioned this before, this is a Western. Being directed by James Samuel, who is the singer-songwriter The Bullets, with music to be original music to be produced from this film by Samuels and Jay-Z, based on a script written by Samuels and Bose Yakin, who was the writer of The Punisher and director of Remember the Titans.
Vest. Take my money, good sir.
Yeah,
That sounds
I
like
completely agree. Take
a
all the
banger.
money.
Yeah, I'm surprised there isn't a bit more buzz around this one.
Yeah, that sounds like a
Considering
certified
that cast.
banger.
That cast is
That cast
fantastic.
of everybody who's hot right now.
Yep. I'm about that. You're going to tell me I get to watch Lakeith Stanfield and Idris Elba be cowboys on a revenge mission with some new Jay-Z music playing?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm telling you.
Top 10 movies of 2021. Here we come.
So if you want to get a preview, apparently Samuels did a short film called They Die by Dawn, which starred Michael K. Williams, Isaiah Washington, Jesse Williams, and Rosario Dawson. I don't know where you can actually watch it because apparently
I'm gonna find
it was
out.
a Tidal Music streaming service exclusive.
I'm going to find out.
All right. And then the final one, which might be my favorite.
Oh, better be fucking
Diablo
good.
Cody. What?
It better be good to beat the last one.
It's a different kind of favorite.
Okay.
So Diablo Cody is co-writing the Madonna biopic. She's co-writing it with Madonna herself. Do you want to guess who's directing?
Guy Ritchie.
Close.
Damn.
Like very close. Previously.
Very close.
They were previously very close.
Madonna was previously very close to...
No, it's Madonna. Madonna is directing her own biopic.
No, I'm not buying this. No.
No.
No. So she's directing her
Yep.
own biopic based on a script she wrote herself.
With Diablo Cody, yes.
No. 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 No, that's not good, is it? That's not a good one. That's a bad one. That's a bad one. I get to save some money during this segment. I've barely invested. I'm taking some pockets home. No Madonna. Like a virgin directing for the very first time.
That's not true.
No, I know
she directed the 2011 film We, or W.
Yeah, what's the Metacritic for that sucker?
What?
What's the Metacritic for that?
Metacritic?
Yeah, what's any score?
IMDb is 6.3.
Yep.
Rotten Tomatoes is 12%.
That's pretty high. 12 out of 100.
Metacritic.
It's like golf.
Metacritic
right?
is
You want the lowest
37.
score.
Oh, that's out of 40,
But-
right?
Yeah. No, it's out of 100. So, yeah, this is hilarious because I don't think this is a very good choice.
Who let...
I don't think I've ever seen anyone direct their own biopic.
You feel like you'd be heavily biased.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I would. The closest to this is Dre and Ice Cube being involved in the Straight Outta Compton movie as executive producers. But again, they didn't direct it and they didn't write it. They were aboard as producers to help, I guess, tell that story. And there's some criticism that they may have swayed them away from telling any of the more potentially darker things or whatever, which I do understand, but I still think that movie dives into certain things that, like their dark past or whatever. But again, still not the same as having Straight Outta Compton being written, directed, and produced by Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, you know, like.
I mean, the real question is, who's going to actually play Madonna?
Madonna.
Yep, that's what
There's
that's
only
the
one
joke
that- there's
everybody's making. They're going to get
there's
that
only one
Irishman technology. And she's going to play. Brilliant.
I hate
All
it.
right. Well, every week there needs to be some sort of story. That's crazy. All right, let's move into what did we end up watching. Dylan, what did we end up watching?
Are you okay, Dylan? Can you not remember what you chose for us to watch? Are you fucking kidding?
The best in show. Best in show. The best dogs in the show.
Live from Philadelphia, it's the 125th annual Mayflower Kennel Club Dog Show. 3,000 dogs competing for Best in Show. To think that in some countries these dogs are eaten.
Cookie and I work as a team. We met at this dance.
He didn't want to dance.
I got 2 left feet,
I thought he was kidding.
but I wasn't. I was born with 2 left feet.
Leslie and I have an amazing relationship. People say, oh, but he's so much older than you. And you know what? I'm the one having to push him away. We both love soup.
The bloodhound not only has a great nose, but they can talk.
What you doing, bloodhound doggy?
And he's saying, I'm ready. That's when you know he's ready for show.
Best in Show, the 2000 year 2000 film directed by Christopher Guest, starring Jennifer Coolidge, Christopher Guest, John Michael Higgins, Michael Hitchcock, Eugene Levy, Jane Lynch, Michael McKean, Catherine O'Hara, and Parker Posey. The owners of 5 show dogs head for a national dog show with a film crew accompanying them to get a behind-the-scenes look in the highly competitive and cutthroat world of dog shows. Dylan, you picked one that was right on
The money.
right on the money.
Mm.
Culturally relevant right now.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's
You
worth
didn't
pointing-
even know it.
No, it's worth
Well, you
pointing
know a
out.
little.
I picked this movie, which was written by one of the stars of Schitt's Creek, stars 2 of the stars of Schitt's Creek, and I picked it before their Emmy spree of
History.
wins.
Historic
And
wins.
yeah, so and I watched this after the Emmys, and the funniest thing is I knew Eugene Levy was in it, right? I knew that. I understood that much. I'm watching a movie, and obviously him and what's her? I can't remember her name.
Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, Catherine O'Hara. I didn't know she was in it, so I'm sitting there watching, and because they're younger, I didn't get it straight away, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, that looks like no way that this has worked out that it's the exact same. And then, of course, I pull out my phone, open up IMDb, and I find out, I'm like, holy fuck, apparently they've been in lots together. I didn't even know this. Schitt's Creek
they've
is
got a
just,
long history.
Schitt's
so-
Creek is just friends and family make a Canadian comedy.
I
What
mean,
a great
true.
old time.
It's true. So story about Schitt's Creek, obviously, Dan Levy and Eugene Levy obviously developed it together from Dan's idea, and then they kind of convinced Catherine O'Hara to come in and do like the pilot or like a preview version to show to studios or whatever, with the rule that she could walk away if she wanted to. There was no obligation for her to come back. Obviously, they got picked up and they talked her into doing, just come in and do one season. Just one season of television. And then she subsequently did 6 seasons of television and critically acclaimed. She's brilliant in the show. Yeah. So, best in show, what did you think?
I was going to say, which are we talking about again?
I feel like that was
Best in
important.
show.
That was important background information.
Yes.
No, yeah. So I enjoyed this movie. More background for. I've seen this in Spinal Tap. I've seen Mascots. I've seen maybe something else that what's the guy directed. So like I understand the on the fly they improv a lot of the scenes. They have a very loose script. It's just a bunch of people.
Yeah. So apparently the script was only 15 pages long.
I would believe that because I'm pretty sure like This Is Spinal Tap was like 2 pages. So like wouldn't surprise me. And it's that same thing, and it's the similar sort of comedy where it's a fake documentary before The Office, like before that kind of quote unquote did it first. So it's a very dry, silly. It's a very dry kind of humor, I guess. A lot of the jokes are. I mean, there's some more outlandish ones, but a lot of it is you're laughing at people just kind of just doing silly characters. It's not a 2000 comedy where it's a Seth Rogen comedy. You can tell it's a they don't make movies like this anymore. I did find it funny. The one thing I'll say that doesn't stand out test of time is the over the top stereotypical gay couple. I didn't find it to be I didn't feel like it was being mean. You know what I mean? Like I didn't feel like it was mean-spirited, but at the same time, I feel like you couldn't do that now because it kind of would probably be taken as mean-spirited, even though I don't think it was done in a super mean-spirited way. You know what I mean? Like
it's just the way it was. It's the way it was done back, like in those 2000s, 1990s kind of movies where there were always, if there was a gay couple, there would always be overly flamboyant.
Yeah, and what the lesbian couple in the movie is Butch.
Yes.
Like, it's very stereotypical, like, both ends of the...
Yeah. And there's always... Also, they always they do the stereotype for, like, gay couples of, like, one being way older than the other. Like,
one's a playboy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's the only part I would say that kind of stood out a lot. But other than that, I thought it was very funny. I think the movie's a lot of setup. You get introduced to all these couples and their cast and their dogs and... They're getting to go off, and that's kind of I feel like the slower part of the movie. And then obviously, I feel like the most laughs come when they get to when they all start arriving at the hotel. One couple who are freaking out over losing the dog toy and whatever. That's great, and then all of that's great, and I appreciated how they have a sort of wrap up scene after the dog show. But obviously the whole movie's leading towards the dog show, and then when you get there, that's where I feel like the majority of the best laughs were, especially I can't remember his name, but the guy on commentary, especially just knowing he's throwing
Fred Willard, yeah,
just he's throwing out these great random lines at people and stuff, and it's just the other guy, his reaction to some of the things he says is, I feel like there's one part where he says something, you can see the other guy nearly laughing at it, but yeah, no, it was a fun movie. It was a fun movie.
Kieran, what did you think of Best in Show?
I enjoyed it. I think definitely agreed that this movie hits its element once they're at the dog show and the different couples can kind of start interacting with each other and playing off each other a lot more. I think overall it was really enjoyable. Even the setup, which I did feel maybe dragged just a tiny little bit or was a larger part than I thought it was going to be. It was still like, it still didn't feel like it dragged that much, and it still felt like a fun, enjoyable movie. I don't know if it's just me, maybe it's my age now, but because I don't get this feeling when watching older movies like this, when you watch like your 80s or like 70s movies, I don't feel like, oh fuck, this is really 80s. But because I lived through the 2000s or the late 1990s enough that I'm like, fuck, this really is a 2000s movie. Like, you look at stuff and you just go, like, you just cringe at some stuff that's normal in this kind of general society, with phones and a lot of it's weird. But overall, I still, really loved the movie and really enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I think, echoing what you just said, once I get to the show, it's really enjoyable. Obviously, Fred Willard kind of is Steven's feeling as the color commentary, who does know nothing about
dog shows.
Dogs. I mean, it's interesting. Some of these actors, this is probably the earliest work I've seen from them. Especially like Jane Lynch, who I've seen in, geez, probably blew up around whenever Glee came out. She sort of,
It was 2006, 2007.
Yeah, and you can see elements of that character here, which is kind of odd. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. The dog's very adorable, especially Winky. And I might have liked a little bit more explanation into what makes the dog show, explaining the dog show. Like, I learnt nothing.
Have you never watched it? It's really weird, right? This is a very English thing, right? Very English thing. For England, there's a dog show called Crufts every year. And it's like do you know how like the Olympics takes over like Channel 7 or something when the Olympics is on? When Crufts is on, it takes over like a mainstream TV channel for like the week. And so you just innately learn about dog shows and all the different kind of measuring their walks. And
I don't know if it was the same one or different, but I remember when I was in primary school, there was like there would be dog shows on. I'd get home from school, I'd have like dog shows on, and it would just be. I mean, I'm finding it so weird because you'd be watching him, and obviously it would be the very posh sounding people. That are, oh yes, he's going to take her. And all that sort of stuff, and
great Damien,
all that sort of stuff. Which obviously this movie's parodying all that, and maybe it helps to have watched some of the dog show stuff to appreciate the parody more, I guess. But yeah.
No, I would have appreciated if I actually learned what they were trying to accomplish.
They just want to win. It's
I
a prestige
don't think that
dog
was
show.
the point. Like, what they needed to do to accomplish, like what are the rules and that kind of stuff.
I think that's the point. Everyone that watches dog shows doesn't actually know.
Doesn't know. Yeah,
that's the joke, I think.
Did you have a favorite trainer group? Because to me, it's hard to go past Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara.
Yes, but
her constantly running into people she's had past relations with.
Yeah. That was a good running joke, and also I think the first good laugh I got out of the movie was at the start of the movie where it cuts to them and they're singing a song about their dog or whatever, their terrier, and they're just singing this terrible fucking song together. It's just, I had headphones on watching this and I nearly wanted to take them off, but that's why it was so good. But I would say runner-up would be, I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who has the bloodhound. That's
Christopher Guest.
Yeah. Yes. But my favorite scene of his was near the start when they're in the car or the caravan or whatever it is. He's just like telling that random story about what the fuck was it? I can't remember.
I knew how to say all the name of nuts.
Yeah. I knew how to say more nuts would be. It's just like the most random thing that you could tell he was just dribbling on and making up as he went along, but it was just a commitment to it. And then also those other random scenes where he'd be like saying, and also the puppetry thing and whatever.
Ventriloquism, yes.
Ventriloquist stuff. Yeah, that was also great. Yeah, so.
Yeah. So that was Best in Show. I think that brings us to the end of this episode of What Do You Want to Watch? If you want to find us on Twitter, you can go to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. Really important. Let us know. Next episode is episode 69. Let us know what is the most appropriate film for us to watch for what do we end up watching. We'll be taking some next suggestions for the next week or so. So tweet at ExplosionPod or any of us with your recommendations. I have a couple of names in mind. We'll throw it in a list and we'll pick something. appropriate.
So I don't have to watch Limitless until the 4 weeks from now?
No, you still need to watch it for next
Fuck
episode.
off.
We'll cover it in what are we not watching? The watch history.
I feel like you watching Limitless on episode 69 is
nice.
It's almost perfect.
It's nice, as some people would say.
Yes, nice.
Yeah.
Dylan.
So be sure to go to explosionnetwork.com to check out our news, reviews, and other podcasts. And if you want to help us out, leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser or on Twitter when you're telling people about episode 69 coming in 2 weeks' time. All right. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
Fuck Limitless, I'm not watching that shit. Take it up with my lawyer. Follow me on Twitter @Vidalidal.
At the where?
That's how it's pronounced. People are ill. So I actually downloaded that app when I got my teeth out because my mum kept trying to talk to me and I couldn't talk. So I downloaded that, but it made it funny because of course the first thing that happened when I downloaded that was she said something. I was complaining because the bird was screeching and I had a headache time. So I wrote in that thing, I'm like, can you take the bird out of the fucking room? And of course, as soon as I clicked play and my mouth was already hurting, and I'm like, it's funny. I regret this decision.
Did you know that upset is a homonym? Homonym. Fuck. Did you know?
Nah, you have to leave it now.
Yeah.
You gotta leave that in.
Yeah.
No.
Did you know upset is a homonym? I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me in this episode, Dylan.
Yeah, yes.
Joining me in this episode, Dylan Blight.
Yes, I was aware that upset was a homonym.
Homonym. Yep. There's multiple ways to pronounce that word as well. Also
right.
joining
English language.
English language. It's been added to all the time.